people are shifting away from looking at traffic to something like revenue marketing.
There's a lot in the middle and needs to be figured out.
Making the right focus for the teams. This is like the approach of reunite them, and that's how this revenue marketing come to place.
Welcome to the Privacy-Led Marketing Show. I'm Adelina.
And I'm Kirsty.
And today we're going to tackle a very challenging topic for marketers nowadays, and that is marketing measurement.
And joining us today is someone who's turned marketing measurement from a reporting function into a strategic lever, Natalia Zhukova, Head of Marketing and Market Research at Semrush. Natalia, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, hello. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to talk today about the measurements and marketing.
Just 10 years ago, it was all about brand awareness and lead volume, and now we've got sophisticated revenue teams, AI dashboards, and automation running on overdrive. But are we actually proving our value, or are we just tracking what we think people want to hear? Your dashboard looks good, but is it telling the truth or just showing you what you want to see? Those in charge believe it's the latter. A staggering 76% of CMOs are feeling the burn to prove ROI. And here's the kicker. Only 33% actually trust the current attribution models. Adelina, that's a pretty big disconnect. Why do you think we're seeing that?
If we look at the world of marketing, we started with strategic branding and a lot of very interesting tactics like community building and so on, knowing for what you stand, providing value to the customers. With time, as the digital world came into place, it was very easy to measure and collect all the data. And I think we kind of got too obsessed with that and forgot about the principles of what makes the marketing relationship with the customer work. And now that the whole industry has matured, that users have matured, I think we're experiencing kind of like, let's go back to the marketing school kind of logic, where I'm just foreseeing that although we can measure more and everything is digital, we need to rethink, what do we actually measure, in what way, and how do we use that, and what else is there besides just measuring every click and so on.
Totally. I mean, 3/4 of us can't be striving towards metrics that we don't believe in. That's insane.
I mean, we do need to show what's working and understand what's working, right? Like, you either need more budget or to know where to invest yourself in the different channels. But what's up for conversation today is, I think, none of the models work fully, and there's a lot of like blind spots. So first of all, there is much more data than what we can measure just through the tools itself and knowing what data we're collecting. Like, I keep giving the example of us just asking, how did you hear about us? It's so basic and still so valuable. And there can be more of this kind of first party data, and then that can override any other information you get about this from other tools, because that's ultimately someone is exposed to multi-channel, multi-touch, and it's really hard to say, oh, it's just this or that. And I know there's a lot in the world now about a various attribution model, marketing media mix, and so on, but still no model has made it perfect so far. And I think there is a lot of value in measuring the immeasurable. So, like, again, how do you measure your brand trust? How do you measure the community interactions and the value you bring to people and so on? So it'd be very interesting to hear your point of view on this.
I totally agree with you. I think that CMOs right now, they are actually under pressure. They are asked a lot of questions from the boards or from the CEO as well. So how it works, how we perform, how it's measured, and so on. And they're also trying to invent some kind of attribution. They're following the classic models. They made a lot of changes. So there is so much, like work outside of the rules or outside of the specific classic schemas right now. And CEOs, of course, they are smart people. They see the things, they see the improvement in one side, the not improvement in other side, and they are trying to understand how actually to match to show the best results. Because of course, it's not only about performance; it's also about showing the results. They have to show the results. So yeah, I can understand totally why they sometimes really have some doubts about the result they're showing.
Yeah, and I can empathize as a marketer myself. Like, I had to go through all this, right? Like, dealing with the board and building different budgets, knowing where to invest more money in which channels, which campaigns, and so on. But I think there are a few aspects in here. One is measuring what seems to be unmeasurable, but there's still ways. Like, for example, brand equity, which I used to do when I was in a marketing agency back in the day. Or just looking at different things that we do. Like, for example, a campaign, what's the whole influence that you can have, but then not split it with other things that we do, because the sum will always be more than, because there is overlap. So yeah, quite curious, how do you do it at Semrush, and what's your advice in this regard?
So there's a lot of different models that we are trying to put together because, to be honest, I think that we have to understand with a lot of responsibility how we have to measure every channel and what we can measure and how. And what the most important thing actually to follow. For example, sometimes it's very, very important to check the numbers in a relative matter. For example, not just showing the growth in your channels for 15%, but also show that, for example, comparing with the competitors, we have grown significantly, or while the market has grown 5%, we have grown 50%. So I think that this approach is super important, and that actually can show much relevant, much real picture than just the numbers.
Let's dig in a bit to where we're seeing some disconnect. There's an increase in number of businesses dividing growth and brand. Do we think this is a good trend, or is this just leading to more disconnect?
I think that's coming from the fact that performance marketing was easy to measure, although I would say that's a part of the picture, definitely with a lot of blind spots, not a full picture. And brand was generally more difficult to measure. So that probably created this divide. But in reality, even if you do performance marketing, if you are not using a brand, then the moment you stop your ads, you vanish from people's minds. And I really believe that these two have to be really well intertwined. And also that brand can be measured, as I said earlier.
So one team is tracking one thing and the other team's tracking the other, or are they working together?
At the moment, I've seen in most companies them separate, but my vision is to bring them together. And it's something at Usercentrics we do it a lot. I believe every performance marketing campaign should have a strong brand component of what you stand for and how do you bring memorability and familiarity and a lot of the brand values that you want to transmit. So people remember you for something. And something we measure is also then the brand search volume. This is very important to us. That's not how you first heard about us, because obviously to know our name, you heard from something else, from this TV show, from an ad, from whatever. But that builds the memorability, especially for products you don't need on the spot. Maybe you'll come back months later.
And I think that right now the brand activities sometimes are sacrificed just to make more budget to performance things.
And what do you think about revenue marketing? Do you think that can be the North Star that unites the two teams together?
I think so. I like this idea because I think this is something like a combo actually of the growth and brand. And we just have to also maybe make the clear definition of what does it mean. Because for some company, for different companies, actually it might be slightly different thing. And we just have to clearly define it and make it sure that everyone understands in the company what does it mean. So we can agree on a set of metrics as well, which can be the direct contribution to the revenue marketing. And yeah, that's it. So it sounds very easy. I know that's very complicated as a concept, as an idea to develop, but I think this is very good future actually for the teams to be united.
Yeah, I actually have an interesting experience with this because in most cases in sales-led companies, marketing was usually in charge of, yeah, just brand or building leads, but with the disconnect towards revenue. And in my case, I have by now like years and years of experience in what's called product-led marketing, which means that between product and marketing, you own the full user journey all the way to revenue. So I'm used that for years, this is totally possible. And again, with imperfect measurements, of course, we always try, like we have in my team, we have a data scientist and data analyst and so on. We always try to get as much as possible. But by investing in all this, owning the full user journey, and yes, revenue marketing is possible, and it's something that's becoming more and more trendy.
And do you think people are shifting away from looking at traffic to something like revenue marketing, or is it a bit complicated to try and change their minds?
I think these are the two extremes. And like there's a lot in the middle that needs to be figured out. Because yeah, if you jump from just traffic to all the way to revenue, there's like a million other touch points in
It
between.
also depends on the channels. So some channels it's better to understand in traffic. Some channels it's better to understand in some revenue metrics as well. So this focus, like making the right focus for the teams, not just like your team is going to go with that and your team for that, but this is like the approach of reunite them, and that's how this revenue marketing come to place.
Yeah, common metric, a North Star metric.
Yep.
It's making
That's
wonders.
it.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's so interesting. All right, let's take time to stir the pot a little bit. It's time for our hot take segment. So 1 minute on the clock. Natalia, What is one of your most controversial pieces of marketing advice? Anything you've been afraid to say up until now? We want to hear it.
Talking so much about personalization these last days. Everyone has a goal, like to do something personalized, but just only using the first name in email or just making a guess according to our internal models that this is like the product and offering I have to share with this user. This is not actually the personalization only. There's a lot of things that we still have to dig deeper, understand it better. And at the same time, I also think and see a lot of fails just because we use not the specific and not the proper type of content for the channels.
Okay, love that insight, but let's switch it to something a little less controversial. Tools like Google Meridian are bringing mixed media modeling to a whole new level. It helps brands elevate performances across channels, even when cookies are disappearing. So, what is your take on this? Do you love them? Do you hate them? Is it something everyone should be using?
So the whole marketing measurement will evolve, and I think all the ecosystem is working on this at the moment. So yes, Google will work on this. We are working on this. You are working on this. It's going to evolve a lot, and I think marketers need to understand what new things they have at their fingertips. But besides technology, what we need to understand it's also the strategy and the combination of performance and brand that you still need to stand for something. Nothing will take this away. And if anything, if I think about the world of marketing, it's been more than 5 decades now. It's back to the textbook in schools, right? Like it's not just like click, click, click. It's and measuring that, but it's the entire what's your product for who? Why does it matter? How do you differentiate? How do you build relationships with your customers? All that will never go away.
And what I like that in such tools like Google Meridian, there is a lot of opportunities actually to mix the channel, like working with the different models. Because right now it's actually the work of analytics, and we need a team of analytics to think, to change, and so on. But that's such a big help that we have a tool which can help us to actually model and mix in the models and see how we can measure sometimes unmeasurable things. This is something that we started the conversation today, that there are some unmeasurable things, and with such tools, sometimes it just
Or
it
perceived
helps.
as unmeasurable, but
Yeah,
not necessarily.
yeah, that's it. Yeah,
It's just sometimes an over reliance, maybe, on the last click attribution, would you say?
yeah, because yeah, the last click attribution, I think it's very outdated approach, and yeah, this is my kill metric, to be honest, because this blind following the last click attribution, this is like doesn't help actually to understand the impact. It's like very limited access.
I mean, when you both say it, it makes so much sense. It seems almost so simple, but why do you think people are hesitant to kind of adapt? Do you think people are still just hanging on to their click through rate and don't want to evolve?
I think it's experience. If you are a marketer that started a few years ago your career and you just got used to this way of like measuring what's possible in performance marketing and you've never tried to connect dots or explain to the board and so on, but we can become more sophisticated and more strategic. And as I said, it's about how do we put everything together that overall there is a performance that has good efficiency. So it's good for the business, but then within it, where to invest more or less, and is not a precise science, but it can be modeled. And that's why I'm saying, like, leave some space for innovation. It's some space for a brand, like combine performance marketing with brand marketing and so on. And you can put things together. You can ask people, how did they hear about us? How did they experience something? Like, there's nothing more valuable than first party data. And I know that a lot of marketers now are thinking, oh, but third party and whatever. Like, yeah, there is like different timelines given out there, but it's going to be a challenge. So the more you just ask people, build a relationship with them, nothing will beat that.
I love that.
Yeah, I think that people are so attached to these old metrics just because the other metrics are not the mainstream for this moment, and they are still maybe required to report these metrics because they can be showed in very neat dashboards and so on, and they are following this.
So we've discussed a lot today. Is there any key takeaways that you want marketers to have from this conversation?
Get confident. Like, talk to people in the marketing team and outside the marketing team about stuff that don't matter in terms of what gets measured, and also about what should be measured, but maybe it's harder. And there are ways, there are always ways. So as I said, correlation, brand equity, all this kind of stuff. Second, put performance and brand together, hyper important. And third point, it's about putting things in context. So in your own business, like, what's your overall efficiency? If you have a good customer acquisition cost, payback and stuff like that, then you have maneuver to play with the different channels and composition of what you're using inside. And then what's in the context of the market, like how much is the market growing versus how much you're growing. And I think contextualizing, it's always like hyper important.
Yeah. And I think, again, we have to just choose maybe one metric or several metrics we have to follow. We have to unite people to follow this North Star. And it might be something really simple, for example, like something very essential, like daily active users or engagement things and so on. So, very meaningful for the business in this moment, according to the strategy, and that can help us. And I think that what we also have to take a look all the time is AI because it's evolving. It actually affects brands. It affects the discovery of the products of the company and so on, because people start the journey in this systems, and we have to understand how we can adapt to this new reality because this is like the new era for everyone, for businesses and for users.
Okay, well, that's a wrap on an incredibly insightful session. Before we go, I just want to ask if you have one metric you would keep and one metric that you would kill.
Yeah, to keep, as I mentioned several times today, I would follow the market share because I think this is something essential when you can understand the real growth, not just your company, but in the context of the market overall. And as I mentioned, my metric to kill is in last click attribution because I really don't understand why people so attached to that because there is so much different mixes of channel. Marketing mix is here. We are not we can't only or give all the credits to the one channel, which is just a part of the user journey. So yeah.
Mhm.
And Adelina, one to kill, one to keep?
One to kill, I would say attribution per channel because it's always multi-channel and multi-touch, and you need to understand the overlap and what builds exactly what she was saying. You cannot just zoom in on last or first or whatever. And not sure if to keep, but more to add the brand measurement part we kept discussing about.
Totally agree. Yeah, brand metrics right now, I think that's something that we have to follow very thoroughly.
Interesting. Thank you so much. What about you? What's the metric you would keep and what's the one you would get rid of? Let us know in the comments. We'll be back with our marketing news soon, so make sure you hit that subscribe button if you don't want to miss it. See you then.